evening. Still poor from this side. We've got Mayor on this side, just showing off. A very warm welcome this evening to StAndrews Church in BarrowHill. A warm welcome to you and the team. We're going to put on this demonstration, is that the right word? Performance. Land of Promise, anyway, the story of BarrowHill. As many of you will be aware, we are struggling to keep this parish church open as a worshipping community. So if you can all be here on Sunday morning, I can cancel the church commissioners and we can crack on. And with no further ado, we shall crack on. So welcome and welcome.
Well, welcome from the Town and Country Planning Association. Does anyone know what on earth that stands for? So we are not, as you might think, a manufacturer of mouthwash. The TCPA is what's left of the British utopian tradition, and we're immensely proud to be here tonight. I have to say that in about an hour and 10 minutes, I'm going to try and persuade you that this building is one of the most important buildings in Britain, and the two people who designed it are two of the most inspirational thinkers about how we should live that we've ever had in this country. So this is, let's be honest about it, because it's an honest hour and 10 minutes, this is a building under threat. It's been kept alive by some brilliant people who come and worship here and kept it going. Now, collectively, we all need to decide whether we value this incredible piece of working class history and whether or not we can find a pathway for it. So, Land of Promise is going to take you on a journey, about 500 years of history of the British utopian tradition, but weaved all the way through it is going to be the story of Onward and Parker. So we're going to show you some clips, we're going to play you some music, some fantastic three fantastic readers. I thought I'd lost you, Katie, for a minute, just not sitting where you went and sitting. Completely freaked me out. And we're going to take you on that journey. We've done Land of Promise as a performance all around the country. It always has a certain kind of shape to it, but tonight we're going to diverge. So if things fall off the rails at occasional moments in the next hour and 10 minutes, we're really proud of that, because we want to spend a bit more time talking about this place, talking about Onward and Parker. So we're going to start where we've always started, which is in the question about land and freedom. The question that nobody wants to answer at the moment is how we're going to live and how we face the future. How we can create decent conditions for people, decent quality of life for people. And in a place like BarrowHill, that's an important question, isn't it? A decent quality of life for everyone, a decent opportunity for everyone. That question has been going on in this country for 500 years, and it came to a fore in where we're going to start, you'll be pleased to know, very up to date, in 1649. Sorry, moves a bit quicker after this, don't worry. In the English Civil War. And it's interesting, that phrase, an English Civil War, isn't it? Feels a bit like that. And one of the other themes I'll talk about, which is dangerous, is about wouldn't it be nice if we cooperated more, and how you stitch a country back together. And it's interesting that that's the theme of this evening, that I'll try and come back to if I can remember, because I'm very forgetful. So the first kind of where we start is with Gerard Winstanley and St George's Hill. So the Diggers were just an amazing group of people. In 1649, end of a vicious civil war with a very divided nation, a group of people said, we'll go and occupy the land and set up ideal communities. And one of them was at St George's Hill, Surrey. Anyone been to St George's Hill? Hooray! Only one person on it, well done. And Ollie, is this your house?
One of my house.
One of your houses. So this is the Donald Trump of more residential development. And this house is one of the ones now planned for St George's Hill, which was common land. And is now actually a really private gated community with all these incredible kind of oligarchs living there. This first song we're going to hear though really sums up, I suppose, all of the Diggers were trying to achieve. And embedded in it, I think I'm right to say, Chris, is an idea about who owns land and about justice and about outcomes for people. And it resonates strongly now, after all those years, about where we are as a society. So, the Diggers song.
Show beneath on treasury roll. The sin of property we do disdain. No man has any right to buy or sell it for private gain. By theft and murder they took the land. Now everywhere walls rise up and their command, and they make the laws to take us well. Their clergy down sent to hell. But God they serve. God breathe, feeds the rich one and starve. We work, we eat together, we need no swords. We will not give in to these masses of violent lords. We are free men, we are whole. Diggers all stand up for glory, stand up now. To conquer them by love, coming now, coming now. To conquer them by love, coming now. To conquer them by love as it does you behold. For he is king above, no power is like to love. Stand up now, diggers all. From the men of property, the orders came. They sent the hired hands and the troopers to wipe out the diggers' claims, tear down their cottages and destroy their corn. They were dispersed, but the vision was on. 1649, St. George's Hill. A rugged band they called the diggers came to show the people's will. They fight the landlords and they fight the law. They were the dispossessed, and what was theirs.
We move rapidly on then into, by about 250 years, to a period of history which was really influential on Owen and Parker. So they were reading things about the Civil War when they were thinking about life, and they were also influenced by the Chartists. And I thought Chartists in the 1820s, 30s was a campaign for political democracy. It was also a campaign for land and freedom. They set up also 4 communities altogether. Charterville is one. This is in Oxfordshire, in a very famous previous Prime Minister's constituency. I haven't yet had a call to be Prime Minister, but I'm still, the position seems to be vacant at the moment, so and this is one of the buildings that they created, which is still there. And again, the thing about Charterville is it's just like BarrowHill. You are the cradle of the Garden City movement in this community. There's no signs up there either to say what an amazing legacy it is. It's an extraordinary piece of, they bought land by subscription, brought people together. It failed as an enterprise largely because they couldn't purchase enough land from the aristocracy, but they tried 4 times to set up communities for ordinary people and drew people in from all over Europe. The issue at that point that was so important for where we are today is that at the beginning of that century, industrialisation was taking place. 2 powerful forces were at work that had a profound impact on this building. One was the enclosure of land, and if you want me to be polite about it, enclosure of land was a legal process where the aristocracy just let their legal rights run freely. Some people have called that the theft of 25 square kilometres of land in England, and more in Scotland, and a good deal more in Wales and Ireland as well. But it was an enormous process of the transfer of land from common people to the aristocracy. And then industrialisation was the other great force, something that built the place we're sat in, the transfer of huge amounts of population. And one of the arguments about that, one of the important issues about it, we We know what industrial cities looked like in the 19th century, but enclosures, the theft of that common land, had a massive impact also on rural communities. And this song, it's a beautiful song, portrays, I guess, what happened in many of those rural areas. And there's one person who wrote about that more brilliantly than anybody else, and that was John Clare, who ended up in a lunatic asylum, I think, for a good chunk of the last part of his life, in terms of, was very celebrated as a poet. This song, Chris, I think, is two of his poems put together. So, Langley Bush.
The Langley Bush was a white thorn tree in the parish where Clare lived, and being a meeting place, long standing, it was in a sense targeted. They ripped it up as part of being murdered. So Langley Bush named the song is the kind of thing which he built the original poem around. Far spread the hoary ground, the level scene was spread with rush of one eternal green. It never felt the rage of blundering plough. Those centuries wreathed spring blossoms on its brow. Unbounded freedom ruled the wandering scene. No fence of ownership crept in between, to hide the prospect of the following eye. Its only bondage was the circling sky. By a Langley bush I roam, but the bushes left its hill. On Cooper Green I stray. It is a desert strange and still. Prosperity Way, and all round Oak's narrow lane, with its hollow trees like portraits we will never see again. I used to lie and sing my old East Wellspring, and time would lower bows together for a swing, fish with crooked pins and never catch a thing. My heart just like a feather, and then beneath old leafless oak by the bottom branches broke, to make a hard harvest cart like other working folk then, to break a straw in the book, to have a soak. I never dreamt of parting. My Langley bush I roam, but the bushes left its hill. On Cooper Green I stray. It is a desert strange and still. Crossberry Way, no round Oak's narrow lane, with its hollow trees and boulders we will never see again. Around Oak's Lane, as the sky grew black again, we'd see those oaks as shelter from the rain, and these words of poesies, for when they have stolen away those ancient trees of play. becomes a naked street. By likely bush I roam, but the bush has left its hill. On Cooper Green I stray, it is a desert strange and still. Crossberry Way, and all round Oak's narrow lane, with its hollow trees, like pulpits, we will never see again.
You all to know I've got a really comfy seat here. I'm not sitting on a really hard wooden pew, so this has been addressed. So just a few expressions about how long this go on. So next we've got William Morris, and that's important because we get right into the deep territory about how William Parker framed this building and what they were inspired by. And William Morris has probably appeared in there quite in a ghostly form, isn't it? There's just nobody more important in this country about in the history of good design. But no one more important, I guess, in terms of thinking about how that good design should be for everybody and not just for who can pay for it. And that was really important, both for Owen and Parker in their thinking. And Morris was new Raymond Owen in Manchester, which I'll come back to, so a really interesting relationship. His sister, of course, was wife of the Vicar of Clay Cross, so another Derbyshire connection in this utopian tour, should you wish to go to Clay Cross after you did the test rounds. So there's all sorts of really important linkages in this part of the world about this tradition that I have to say I've never understood. But William Morris set an amazing agenda. And this little piece you're about to hear, Katie, why don't you wander up here, is from something he wrote in 1885. And it's a lecture he gave in London. And it summarises better than anything else, I think, what was in the heads of Owen and Parker when they designed this building. Not that that sets you up in any kind of way.
We tour these utopians as well, so
Can everybody see?
And again, that word art leads me to my last claim, which is that the material surroundings of my life should be pleasant, generous, and beautiful. That I know is a large claim, but this I will say about it. That if it cannot be satisfied, if every civilised community cannot provide such surroundings for all its members, I do not want the world to go on. I do not think it possible, under the present circumstances, to speak too strongly on this point. I feel sure that the time will come when people find it difficult to believe that a rich community such as ours, having such command over external nature, could have submitted to live in such a mean, shabby, dirty life as we do. It is profit which crowds people up into quarters without gardens or open spaces. Profit which won't take the most ordinary precautions against wrapping a whole district in a cloud of sulphurous smoke, which turns beautiful rivers into filthy sewers, which condemns all but the rich to live in houses idiotically cramped and confined at the best, and at the worst in houses for whose wretchedness there is no name. When they are no longer slaves, the people will claim as a matter of course that every man and every family should be generously lodged, that every child should be able to play in a garden close to the places parents live in, that the houses should, by their obvious decency and order, be ornaments to nature, not disfigurements of it. For the decency and order above mentioned, when carried to the Duke pitch, would most assuredly lead to beauty in building. All this, of course, would mean the people, that is, all society duly organised, having in its own hands the extent it may be necessary or desirable for people under social order to live in common, we may differ pretty much according to our tendencies towards social life. For my part, I can't see why we should think it a hardship to eat with the people we work with. I console myself with visions of the noble communal hall of the future, unsparing of materials, generous in worthy ornament, alive with the noblest thoughts of our time and the past, embodied in the best art which a free people could produce. Such an abode of man as no private enterprise could come anywhere near for beauty and fitness, because only collective thought and collective life could cherish the aspirations which would give birth to its beauty, or have the skill and leisure to carry them out. I, for my part, should think it much the reverse of a hardship if I had to read my books and meet my friends in such a place. Well, I will now let my claims for decent life stand as I have made them. To sum them up in brief, they are: first, a healthy body; second, an active mind in sympathy with the past, the present and the future; thirdly, occupation fit for a healthy body and an active mind; and fourthly, a beautiful world to live in. And so take courage and believe that we of this age, in spite of all its torment and disorder, have been born to a wonderful heritage fashioned of the work that have gone before us, and that the day of the organisation of man is dawning. It is not we who will build up the new social order. The past ages have done most of that work for us, but we can clear our eyes to the signs of the times, and we shall then see that the attainment of a good condition of life is being made possible for us, and that it is now our business to stretch out our hands to take it.
If any minister from Westminster would make a speech as good as that, and although of course I'm kind of joking because our politics has fallen a long way since then, but that's what we need. It's that understanding of the creation of place. Just look, the communal hall of the future. Look up. I'm telling you, look up. It's not participatory. The reason this building is so important is because this is the physical expression of what William Morris wrote about. Who else has got that? Well, BarrowHill has got that. I'll stop there. I'll stop this. It's important. It's really important. So we're going to move on to a figure that is another link in that chain. So we know that Raymond Duncan was meeting William Morris in the 1880s, and I said I'll come back a bit to Raymond Duncan's story. But there was another figure in Derbyshire of international significance, and that was Edward Carpenter. Anyone familiar with Edward Carpenter? Anyone been in that line to the pub at Norththorpe recently? It's a great experience on a summer's night. And again, there's a little bit of a board there that tells you a bit about the story. But the reason Edward Carpenter was so important was because it was round his table at Norththorpe, in his community, that really a whole series of incredible people that I can't even begin to describe began to meet. And that was following on from Ruskin's community, who'd written brilliantly about the need for art and planning and good conditions up in Totley. So you've got all these connections essentially in South Yorkshire and North Derbyshire about. Now, from the mid-1880s onwards, anyone who was anyone in a kind of alternative scene, we might say, was at Milford. And importantly, that's where Raymond Duncan sat around the table with Russian anarchists, with people campaigning for women's rights, with a whole bunch of women who are largely airbrushed out in this history, but there are a whole series of women, Olive Schreiner, E.S. Nesbitt, there's all sorts of incredible people all sat around that table. And Carpenter himself is an indescribable person. Essentially, he was campaigning for food reform, clothing reform, gay rights, vegetarianism. He was a parish councillor, and he was famously a naturist. And I still think there's room for a naturist parish council meeting. I reckon. How many parish councillors in the room? Who's been a parish councillor or a town councillor? Can you imagine how much faster the meetings would run? Would the honourable member please sit down? So it's important to see, I suppose, Carpenter as having this transformational effect. And yes, he was difficult, sandal wearing, long haired, with all sorts of crazy ideas at the time, but all those ideas are the ones that are now embedded in our culture. You know, he was an amazing driving force. But the critical thing is, him and Raymond Duncan, they had a lot of fun at Milthorpe, and they were really close. And it was the way that Carpenter transformed Raymond Duncan's life that's important. Forgive me, I hate doing this. I'll never find it and delay things no end. But this is what Raymond Duncan said about Carpenter that I found after Carpenter had died, just before the year before Unwin died, he said, retrospectively, among men, evangelists, artists, poets, whom the socialist movement inspired or captivated, Edward Carpenter holds a unique place. For he was at once the most penetrating in thought, most delicate in feeling, most lucid in expression, most intimate in his personal relations and affections. These qualities, with many others, constituted a personality and led to a life as complete and beautiful as they were rare. So, that Millthorpe collection is another collection. You just about walked from Millthorpe to here, so you can see how it's building up on the Utopian trail really nicely when we get that fully marketed. This next piece you're going to hear is from Edward Carpenter himself. In fact, actually, it's great to have Edward Carpenter with us. And we're going to read just a fragment. You didn't know that. A fragment from Towards Democracy. And Towards Democracy was the book that every politician was reading, really right up until the 1930s.
As I walked, restless and despondent through the gloomy city, and saw the eager and resting to and fro, as of ghosts in the sun's sulphurous Hades, and saw the crowds of tall chimneys going up, and the pall of smoke covering the sun, covering the earth, lying heavy against the very ground, and saw the huge refuse heaps writhing with children picking them over, and the ghastly half-roofless smoke-blackened houses and the black river flowing below. As I saw these, and as I saw again far away the capitalist quarter, with its villa residences and its high-walled gardens and its well-appointed carriages, and its face turned away from the wriggling poverty which made it rich, as I saw and remembered its drawing-room airs and affectations, and its wheezy, pursy church-going, and its gas-reeking, heavy-furnished rooms, its scent bottles, and its other abominations, I shuddered, for I felt stifled, like one who lies half-conscious, knowing not clearly the shape of the evil, in the grasp of some heavy nightmare. Then out of the crowd, descending towards me, came a little ragged boy, came from the background of dirt disengaging itself, an innocent, wistful child face, begrimed like the rest, but strangely pale and pensive before its time. And in an instant, it was as if a trumpet had been blown in that place. I saw it all clearly, the lie I saw and the truth, the false dream and the awakening. For the smoke-blackened walls and all the chimneys, and the dreary habitations of the poor and the drearier habitations of the rich, crumbled and conveyed themselves away as if by magic. And instead, in the inward vista of that face, I saw the joy of free open life under the sun, the green sun-delighting earth and rolling sea I saw, the free, sufficing life, sweet comradeship, few needs and common pleasures, the needless, endless burdens cast aside. Not as a sentimental vision, but as a fact and a necessity existing, I saw, in the inward vista of that face, stronger than all combinations of capital, wiser than all the committees of representative labour, the simple need and hunger of the human heart. Nothing more is needed.
So we'll have a statue to Edward as well. Nice, Will Chesterfield. A really fascinating character. Without Edward Carpenter, this place would never have been, because it was Onwin's relationship with him that led to that challenge, that transformation. And let's just think about that transformation. So this is where this whole performance falls off the rails, as I try and do a new bit specifically about Onwin Parker, who's always part of it, but we're going to do a little bit more detail. I'm also going to say that there are much more expertise in this room on Onwin Parker than there is standing up talking to you about it. So if I get things wrong, I'm just giving you an overview. If anyone throws things at me because I've got something wrong, well, feel free, people don't normally do. Raymond Onwin and Barry Parker's early life, I'm going to do this in 3 bits. Raymond Parker and Onwin's early life is interesting. Parker I'm not going to talk so much about, even though he's a really, really interesting character, because he was Chesterfield bank manager's son. went to school in Ashover, and was trained in Derby. There he is looking very fantastic. And Raymond Unwin, I suppose, if you look at the balance between the two, had a bigger public profile. For reasons I'll talk about in a minute, he's the figure that comes out of it. But they were a partnership, and that's the important thing. They brought two things to it. The important thing about Unwin, I guess, is he was born near Rotherham. Did you know Rotherham's having a celebration of Raymond Unwin? Because they think they built the first council house in 1919. Everyone thinks they built the first council house in 1919. So there's a right old local authority row going on. Who's going to claim it? But I think we should claim it as well. I'm sure we built one earlier than they did. It's great, that, isn't it? You know, the great thing about council housing is it's wonderful, so let's argue about who built the first one. The important thing about Unwin, though, I suppose, is that he trained. He had a very interesting life. His father was not a particularly successful shop owner and then went off to Oxford and did a degree when he was 50, which is pretty amazing. He went off to train as a fitter and engineer in Manchester in the 1880s, so he trained as a draftsman. He's an engineer. Personally designed this with Parker as an engineer, and that's really important because that transformation he had, we'll talk a little bit about. And he came in 1887 to StAndrews Coal Company. Nobody's ever heard of them here, I'm sure. Which was, I don't know how to describe it really. I mean, I can remember it. I can remember the plant as the Barrow, but it's hard to describe to people, isn't it? It was just enormous. It was the thing. It was a dominant idea. And the interesting thing about them is they were expanding rapidly in 1887, and Unwin was essentially doing the technical drawings, and he moved later into designing cottages and houses. And that was, so he did the industrial buildings, gantries, machinery underground for the mines, and he designed, we're pretty confident, a number of villages. Anyone remember Arkwright Town? I know there's nobody under 20 in this audience. I'll think to follow. Arkwright Town, the original Arkwright Town, the terraces at Bullsbrook. Definitely him, and there were two or three other, lots of industrial buildings that are pretty much all gone. And it's interesting, isn't it? We've almost wiped clean all of that industrial kind of heritage. There's a tiny bit left here and there, but not much. And then we found, really quickly, we'll show this. I know it's a bit distracting. I really hope there's sun right through that window, isn't it, Andy? So it's going to be hard to see. We found a bit of archive film that we don't think anyone's seen at Bullsbrook for a very long time. It runs 3.5 minutes, and it's a little bit of a distraction, but it was shot in 1969, we think, 68, 69. And if you look, you just about see that. It's hard to see, isn't it? It gives you a sense, this, of the kind of buildings that Unwin was building. So those are the classic terraces. Chris, I know you're going to play under some of this. So just have a quick look, see if you recognise it. I know it's hard to see. I think Andy thought they were Devonshire terraces, didn't we? Yeah. And the thing about that from a housing point of view is not a deal of gardens, which is just worth putting in the back of your mind for what we'll talk about in 2 seconds. Well, they weren't at the front anyway. Anyone in it yet? That's the bridge just down the road. Just to be clear, there is no sound. It's not like turning it down to the So that's the view, isn't it? It's hard to describe to people now.
School days over, get up and jump. Time you're pulling your good boots on. Time you're swinging and pick and shovel. Time you're on your way. Time you're it's nearly light. It's time you're off to the anthracite. Morning mist lies on the valley. Time, we're on your way. Time is working lawyers, burning lawyers' way.
That was Unwin's world, that's what he was producing. And in fact, some of those industrial terraces were of course a big improvement on the conditions people had to live in before they were built. It's hard to see that now that they were. But then something extraordinary happened, a piece of Hollywood that I've never seen a transformation in a human being like it. So he went from that to what he was later to do with Parker at Letchworth. And then this place is their grand experiment. So the first part of that is laying the foundation stone. Guess who's there, look? Raymond Unwin looking really nervous. And as you pull out, you can see terraces behind. And the fantastic thing about that nerve and courage, and read on this invitation I received a bit late, it's for the 1894 ceremony. Only recently reached me. And it says in a little line at the bottom, it says it's going to be the Duke of Devonshire and the Bishop. It says an offertory will be taken to meet a deficiency of £450 in the building fund. So they were building it without the budget. Does that sound familiar to people involved in community development? Well, they did. And that's what's brilliant about it. We just think, you know, this doesn't have to be like this. They care, they put effort into it. And that is a really amazing moment. Then, that's the picture, second picture. So this is the village, I guess, looking on. We've got relatives, haven't we? Margaret, I think one of your relatives is in that picture somewhere. Yeah. And it's a grand occasion, isn't it? A grand building. So, this was our experiment, and the important thing about it is, can you take a limited amount of resource in a working class community and create beauty and the very best for people, and not give in to the idea, oh, you can't afford it, it's not viable, there's no money for that, and so what? And so you have to live worse than you could, and that's always a great tragedy. And so they were inspired with this building to experiment, and you can see it in every detail. And one of those details is what I've got I'm so proud to be standing here, partly because the first lecture was so big enough for me, but more importantly, I'm so proud to be standing about something they made with their own hands. And you can see the pair of them having that conversation, going, well, we can't afford that, well, I will make it though. Like, you know, the freeze at the back and all the great effort that went into the resources here, they just made it to overcome that. And then they met one other person, one other part of the combination that transformed this nation. And that is the person who founded the Town and Country Planning Association, Ebenezer Howard. And he was one very important part of this miraculous chain, because Howard was a very ordinary person and was derided at the time as such. And he wrote an extraordinary piece of work which drew together all of the aspirations that are represented here for the high quality design and high quality places for people. But in a nutshell, the reason he's genius is because he came up with a financial model to pay for utopia. And that's, in some ways, quite straightforward. It's about using the benefits of the development process and sharing them. So it's really as simple as that. Investing them in community organisations, using the increase in value in land that arises through development, and the control of leaseholds to finance utopia. And you're thinking, yeah, that didn't work. I can't tell you how much I've been told over my life that alternatives are impossible. These things can't. Well, get on the train, go to the Letchworth and go and have a look. Go and look what these guys did next after this. But the important part of that is that the Letchworth Foundation has about £160 million worth of commercial assets still in the middle. It owns the town, owns the land around the town, the farmland around the town, lost its residential holdings for reasons too complicated to go into. And it divests £7.4 million a year into the town to pay for the parks, the cinema, the arts centre, a community bus network, 60 community organisations, 3 philosophy groups. Yeah, that's fun. Anyway, whatever they choose to spend their money on, none of that's taxpayers' money. That's benefited from the model that Howard. He's an extraordinary and really important character. So this is the master plan for Letchworth that Unwin and Parker went off to do. 1903, if I've got these dates wrong, David, throw something at me. They designed this in 1903, and away they went, basically, and they began to develop a different kind of housing. Just have a quick look at it. Andy, go back one. Dark Penny. Okay. It's just, this is a bit, yeah. So look at the transformation. When people say, what does that mean? And then just go forward. This is where I drive Andy manually close to. That's what Carpenter and Morris and the relationship they had in Derbyshire did. And the cradle of that, you're saying. And it gets better than that. We go to the next one. So, just a bit out of order, but just because I can. Raymond Building, of course, went on to do all sorts of things. Hampton Garden Suburb, amazing places he built. But the most important thing he did is that during the war, he got the job, the first war, he got the job of building new housing for munitions workers. And he had another opportunity to experiment. At the end of that, he was asked to be part of the Tudor-Walters Committee. Please don't fall asleep, it's really important. Tudor-Walters Committee was published in 1918, heavily influenced by everything they'd learned in North Derbyshire and Letchworth, and he produced the drawings for the Tudor-Walters style. Kind of building looked familiar, from estates we all might know. The idea that you'd have reasonably sized rooms, front and back gardens, enough garden to produce a third of your own food, 3 rooms upstairs to separate children by gender, 3 rooms downstairs so you separated the kitchen for the first time, which the terraces didn't. This was a transformation for the living conditions of this country. It invented the council house. And after 1918, because the government would only give money for designs inside the guide, they built about 1.6 million between the wars, publicly funded council houses that transformed the lives of people to a greater degree than anything else in social policy probably ever has, apart from the NHS. Council housing, good design, all started here. And if that isn't the reason to say this building, I am just going to do an Edward Carpenter right now. Trust me, you don't want to. We're going to go out of order now because my mind's very small. And just go to an event we can't ignore, partly because the Memorial Hall, and I know there's so many people here working so hard to bring the Memorial Hall back and to make it a viable and successful place, and I know it will be. But the Memorial Hall was a Memorial Hall for a reason. And the First War had an enormous impact on the Garden City movement at that time, London and Park in particular, both of whom were pacifists, and they found that challenge really difficult. It's interesting in that what they said about it, and the movement said about it at the time, is why do we have to be so distracted by this ultra-nationalism? Why can't we focus on housing people and giving people decent lives? No residents there at all. There's an important issue, I suppose, about the First War's impact on the dreadful carnage it created, and you can see that written on the memorial just down the road, a number of names on that, and on countless memorials everywhere in this country. And this next song summarises that kind of great loss and the great impact it had on all the utopians who believed innately in the goodness of human beings, and it was hard to believe that at the end of the First War.